Insiders. How you doing today? This is Rich Harshaw. We're here for our Tmac Tuesday morning ad clinic.
I am here.
Okay. Yeah. Was I right that you didn't expect to be on so soon, so you weren't ready?
I did not expect to be on. Matter of fact, I just didn't expect to be on at all, but because I just sent those in.
No, it's crazy. You know, we've been a little thin on submissions lately, but we're jam packed today. However, those who are jam packing us are not currently on the call. So hey. What is it called? Last in, first out, or something?
That's
the first
it.
shall be last, and the last shall be first. I don't know.
Yes.
Anyway, I've got two things from you. I've got looks like a radio ad and a EDDM. I've got the EDDM on the screen here.
Right.
Shall we go ahead and start there?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so it all fits. Okay. Tell me about this. What do you want me to know about it so that we have a frame of reference to talk about it?
Pardon me?
I said, what can you tell me about this so that we have a frame of reference to talk about it?
Okay, we've been using EDDMs for an increasing rate for the last basically year and a half, and they are 8.5 by 11, and it's a pretty cost-effective way between printing decent-sized volumes and also mailing them. No, you pick the postal route. You can't necessarily pick the addresses, but you pick a postal route, and everybody that postal route gets it. So it allows you to
give me an
focus.
idea about how many do you send roughly?
Each time, probably about 25 to 30,000.
And what are you paying per piece typically?
Let me put you on speaker because Drew just walked in. He can tell you those things much better than me.
Okay, good. Well, we were going to have this conversation anyway, so let's just have it now. What the heck?
Yep.
I'm just going to take this information and publish it in a blog article, so I might as well gather it from you. Hey, Drew, how you doing?
Hey, Rich, how are you?
I'm good. So I was just getting some info from Steve on the EDDM campaign. He says you normally send about 25 to 30,000. I was asking him what the price is coming in at.
This one actually we've ramped up this year. We're sending we sent like 60,000 per month. And
60,000 unique addresses or 30,000 twice or what?
No, 60,000 unique addresses. Basically hitting the same addresses every month on a monthly basis.
Okay.
And our printing cost on 60,000, I believe, was about $4,500 printing cost. And the postage cost per piece is 15.7 cents.
All right. So quick math would suggest 0.157 times 60,000 is about 94.20.
Yeah.
And you have the 45
total cost.
4,500, about 13,920. Okay, good. And so what are you seeing in terms of response?
Generally, with EDDMs, we've been getting a 5 or 6 to 1 return on investment. That's been typical. Some slower months of the year, not quite as good. Some of the busier months, a little bit higher than that. 8 to 1, 9 to 1 return. So that's what we've been seeing. I think we ended last year at 5 to 1 on our entire year's campaign.
Okay, well that's then a 20% marketing cost.
Mm-hmm. Right. But what we've also found, Rich, is that people hold on to these.
Yeah,
So a year from now, or we're getting things now that we sent a year ago that people have kept, and they may have gotten a couple of them, and then they call us.
Well, what I heard you just say is that you're doing this monthly. I mean, realistically, this is advertising 101 in 2015, right? It's called, we want the immediate return, but the reality is it's going to take some time for some of these people. When your mail hits, you're going to get the now buyers to pick up the phone and call, but you've got a lot of people that are investigators, not necessarily ready, that are going to do exactly what you said. They're either going to hold it, or even if they don't hold it, they're going to hold it in their memory. They might forget it, but when the next one comes the next month and the next month, this is really a good strategy. So this is good. I guess the idea, though, is what can we do to make it even work better, right?
Oh, always, right. Always, yeah.
Okay, so my comments to you in the past regarding the EDDM has been simplify, 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 right? I mean, I don't think I said it that way, but I think that would be a fairly accurate summary. So let's take a look here. I think I'm looking at the back of this piece. Is that right on the screen right now? Is that right?
Yes.
On the screen, it's the back of the piece. Let's go ahead and look at the front. Okay, call now, take advantage of our last sale before the busy season, plus get on our installation schedule before it backs up 8 to 12 weeks out. So we've got 45% off installation costs, low monthly payments, as low as $81 per month. A giveaway. How's that giveaway working for you? Getting a lot of people to sign up for it? Can they sign up for it on your website?
Over a 3-month period, we usually get between 150 and 200 names. So this year, last year we did in 6-month increments. We did 1 6-month after 6 months. But this year we're breaking it down to 3 smaller giveaways rather than 10,000, 3 $5,000 giveaways. And we got about 170 names combined from the mailing online and a couple of home shows we did for the entrance.
Okay.
So those are names that we mailed to, and we've already seen some jobs this year we've sold to people who signed up for the giveaway last year. So we're getting names to put into our system and to mail to and market to.
Of course, given the wide swath of EDDM, good chance those people are on your list anyway, right?
Some of them are, yeah. And the nice thing is Kelly calls and follows up on all these giveaway entrants, and she's been able to set, for every 10 she calls, she's been able to set an appointment or 2 immediately before the giveaway is over. So that's helped us earn some additional business sooner, having this in place.
Outstanding. That's good to hear. Okay, so give me your comments on this piece. I'll give you my comments. What are you seeing? What are you thinking?
What we tried to do, Rich, a little bit this year compared to last year, is we tried to focus things a little bit more towards the customer and answering questions that they might have. The first one we did this year, which I think you saw, we put on a customer on there who bought from us 8 times over the last 4 years. And it were things that she was concerned about that we answered for her, and she was sort of explaining that in the EDDM. And here we're talking about installation, which nobody ever talks about, and about how our employees, our employee installers, which is all we have, is why they do the job they do and why we get the satisfaction levels that we do. So rather than just say, here we are, we sell windows, which is sort of what we were doing last year, we've tried to focus it more on building relationships. So I think it's improved the response rate that we've gotten from them, but like you said, we want to respond. We want to get it even higher.
Okay. So based on the panel that we're looking at right now on the screen, just a couple of thoughts. And by the way, these are not, oh my gosh, Drew, Steve, I can't believe you've got this terrible mailer. These are just sort of like fine tunes, okay? And they may or may not make any huge change in the results, but I think collectively you get enough fine tunes, they start to move the needle a little bit, okay?
Okay.
So one of the things I see here is, I probably would make it a little more obvious for people to go online to check you out. They're going to probably check you out in a lot of cases anyway. You've got your URL on there, but it's kind of buried. The phone number pops out twice, and I might make that a little bit easier. The other thing is, two other things. Number one, we still got these headlines that are kind of small, and I'd like to see something maybe that pops out a little bit more that allows somebody to instantly focus on what you want them to focus on. Because right now you've got a lot of elements on this page that none of which are really dominant or submissive. So it's sort of a hit and miss. People kind of look around, pop around. I think your headlines are sort of long. I think a lot of people might look at those briefly and then skip their eyes around to other parts of the page. I'm not saying that's necessarily good or bad, but it does prevent them potentially from getting sort of quote unquote the big message. If you had to pick one message off of this front of this card that you absolutely wanted somebody to know, if they didn't catch anything else on this card, what would you want it to be?
Realistically, is the offer and the time sensitive aspect to the offer to give them the call now. This is grabbing the now buyer. This part of the card.
Articulate the offers that you want them to see. If you could only have them see one thing, what would it be?
Payments.
Because you've got multiple offers here.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Financing.
Which one?
The low monthly payments.
Okay. So you know what I would do? I would take that entire giant red part at the top, and I would try something like this. New windows for $81 per month, or as low as $81. You know, you word it the way you need to make it accurate and legally hold up, right? But what if it just had this ginormous headline that said, new windows for your home as low as $81 per month?
Right, to focus on that, yeah.
Well, it's not. See, I'm not trying to dictate, hey, focus on that. I asked you, well, what do you want people to know? And the reason I asked that question is because you've got so many competing things on here. And it's okay to have multiple things on a card, but it's not okay when none of them are clearly the most important thing, right?
Okay.
So I'm not telling you to remove everything else and only put that, but I'm asking you, let's make sure people get out of this what you really want them to get out of this. Because I think if you took this card and you showed it to 100 people, and you said, here, I'm going to let you look at something for 3 seconds and only 3 seconds, and I want you to tell me what the takeaway is. And they said, okay. And then you said, okay, here you go. 1, 2, 3. And you pulled it away and said, okay, what'd you take away from that? I think that it's going to be, number one, it's going to be scattered. You're not going to get any consistency. And number two, you're probably going to get something along the lines of 45 something, but I don't know what.
Because that's bigger and stands out right now. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's right in the middle, and it says 45, and it's the most clearly isolated thing, right? And so they're going to go, well, it's 45% off. And then you're going to ask them, well, 45% off what? And they're going to say, so, you know, some would say installation costs, but a lot would say, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Not really sure. So all I'm asking you to do is let's make sure that there's a clear hierarchy of what they see and how their eye goes down this page. So let's take this top section. I might even make that top section a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean a lot bigger. I mean literally a little bit bigger, maybe so that it extends down to where the top of the photo is.
Yeah.
Now, everything else will get pushed down a little bit because we don't want them to, you know, be butting up against each other. But let's put it on there. New windows as low as $81 per month. And
okay.
I'm going to write that out here so I can see new windows, just $89/month. Yeah, I think that'll fit across. And then maybe a sub-headline right under that. Well, maybe not. Or how about this? Plus 45% off installation. Hurry. What are you trying to say here? Like limited installation slots? What are you trying to say? Our schedule is filling fast, something like that?
Right. Yeah. Like
our schedule fills fast.
That's a good point. Our schedule's filling fast. Make it a time, like get a sense of urgency there to call now. I mean, if people call in 4 weeks, we might not be installing their stuff till July. If they call now, we can probably have it turned around in May. So.
See, what happens is if I put this giant headline in one line, not broken into two, but just one, new windows, just $89 per month, $89/month to make it fit a little bit better. Then the secondary headline that's smaller, plus 45% off installation, hurry, our schedule fills fast. It's going to be visually attached to that main headline. So naturally the eye is going to flow from that to that. And that's what we're looking for. We're kind of trying to be a traffic cop, and we want to control the flow of the eyeball traffic here.
Sense.
Below that, you could then put smaller, call now to take advantage of our last sale before the busy season.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff can stay there, but it just, you're putting the sub headline as the main headline, but it's still not very main, and it's hence my other comment.
Makes sense.
One other minor comment under the photo of the window: home of the patented swing-in window that swings open for the ultimate ease of cleaning and efficiency. I think that there's a little amount of cursive knowledge going on here, which is you know how unique this window is. You know that it's patented and that it swings in and nobody else has it. But I don't know that that's necessarily common knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
I might just make a real minor change on that. That says something like, we sell the world's only swing-in window, or home of the industry's only swing-in window that swings open for the ultimate in cleaning and in energy efficiency, something like that, just to make it a little bit more clear, because I think that the point you're trying to make that, hey, we're the only one that has this, may be not captured as much as you think. The word patented is almost a throwaway word. Nobody really cares if it's patented. They really don't. I mean, you care if it's patented, but they don't care if it's, why would they care if it's patented? Why would they care if 35 other people had that window for sale? They wouldn't care. But if it's the only one, and you could tell them later or somewhere else in the text or on the website, it's patented, that makes sense. Oh, it's the only one and it's got a patent. But it's not the patent that counts. What counts is it's the only one. The only window. Is it the only one in the world? Are there one in China or what?
Not that operate like this one.
Yeah, okay. So, the world's only swing-in window, way easier, easier to clean, more energy efficient. Look what I just did. I actually just made that a little bit easier to read, right? So right now you've got this 3-line sentence. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce it to 1 line and 2 bullet points.
Okay.
We sell the world's only swing-in window, bullet point. Easier to clean than tilt windows. Bullet point, more energy efficient. Now, they may not fully appreciate and understand what all that means because it's just bullet points and it's not a thorough description, but they can certainly go to your website and find out more.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my comments on that. I think we'll move on to the other side of it. I'm proud to install windows and doors for Energy Swing Windows. I promise to treat you and your home with the care and respect you deserve. It's kind of the same thing here. I would rather use fewer words, make them bigger, and make them jump out a little bit more. I'm just afraid that people are going to flip this over and they're kind of going to go, okay, it's hard to get into this. You've not made it easy to jump in.
Okay.
I mean, think about like, well, you're in Pittsburgh, so you don't know the dynamics of swimming pools. I'm in Texas, and it's just now starting up swimming season. But think of like a resort that has a pool, and there's a deep end and a deep end, and you can go in anywhere you want. But on the one end, they've got this beachfront entry where you just walk in, and you can be in 1 inch deep or 6 inches deep or a foot deep, and you can kind of walk into your comfort level. You know what I'm talking about? You've seen this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have a beachfront entry on this pool. You've got like a 6-foot cliff that goes into 10-foot deep water, and that's pretty much the only option that you've given people to get into this pool. Now, it doesn't mean it's not a good pool, and it doesn't mean that there's people that won't jump in, but you just haven't accommodated and made it really easy to sort of ease your way in.
Okay.
Because here's what has to happen. They've got to solve a puzzle when they're reading this. And the puzzle is, I'm proud to install Windows, and immediately right there they think, okay, I don't know what the rest of this sentence says, but it's a lot of words, and I'm not really sure what they're talking about. And they've got to solve this mystery of, number one, do I even want to continue reading this? Because I haven't really seen anything that I'm that interested in. Number two, what do you mean I'm proud to install Windows? Who is this guy? What is this? I don't understand. Now, if they keep reading and they dig down in and they get into the pool, they'll see, oh, this is the guy that installs the Windows.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make it a little easier to get in. Same thing we did on the front. So maybe what we do is this. Maybe we make this headline section a little bigger again, and we got plenty of room here to fool with this, so I'm not worried about it. You know, you can crop this picture a little bit above Justin's head. You can crop it a little bit below the window and give you that extra, you know, 1/4 inch. Maybe we come in there and we put a quote. When I install your Windows, I promise to treat your home with care and respect. Okay? When I install your Windows, I promise to treat your home with care and respect. That's 15 words. Right now, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. I basically almost halved it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be easier to read. Also, I've made it so it's not a guessing game anymore. When I install your Windows,
Okay.
they're going to go, okay, this is the guy that installs the Windows. Plus, they're going to be able to read that more easy. So we make that still 2 lines probably. When I install your Windows, I promise to treat you and your home. I promise to treat your home with care and respect.
Mm-hmm.
See, I dropped the "you deserve." It's not really adding anything. When I install your Windows, I promise to treat your home with care and respect. And then what I would do is I would put, instead of his name down there where it's really, really hard to see, I would put it right under there in small letters, Justin Server, Project Manager. And then they go, oh, that's the guy down there. He must be Justin. He must be an installer. Got it.
Okay.
And then, hi, I'm Justin, installing windows and doors. Okay, great. I haven't even read that, but I don't think it needs to be changed because now, as the reader, I have a frame of reference. And I can say, oh, this is what Justin wants me to know. This is what he's trying to tell me. And if I want to walk deeper into this pool, right now I'm up to my ankles, but if I want to walk to my knees or to my waist, I'll do it. If I don't, I won't, but I'll at least know what's up there. So that would be my advice. Just I think the analogy is good. Just making it a little easier to get into this pool.
Okay. Okay.
I've never used that analogy in my whole life, and there it is.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah. You know what? Really, though, it's pretty consistent with comments I've given you in the past. I mean, I see right here in the bullet points, you've made the things you want people to see read per previous discussions.
Yes.
So that's a little easier to get into.
Yeah, I made that based on your comments on the previous card.
Yeah. So you know, Drew, do you actually do the graphic design, or somebody else over there do it?
I do pretty much all of it.
Yeah. Why don't you reconfigure that a little bit based on what we just said and send it back over? I'd love to see the difference and, you know, see if it pops more like I'm hoping it does.
Yeah, I'd like to do that because we started to I considered running this one again, not back-to-back months, but I consider running it again later this spring or summer. It started off slow in March with this card, but it picked up considerably towards the end of March. So I'm considering running it again. I'd like to make those tweaks and see what you think, and we'll give another test.
So let's recap. I always ask this question, not to you, but to anybody on this Tmac when we're evaluating. What do you want people to know? You know, if you look at the front of yours, it's a little buried.
Yeah.
But, you know, here's the reality, Drew and Steve, just to help you feel a little bit better about this advice. I'm telling you, man, the curse of knowledge, it's a son of a gun, man. It is hard to deal with. The curse of knowledge says the more you know, the harder it is to imagine what it's like not to know. And when you look at what's on the screen right now, you know exactly what it says. You know exactly what you do. So you sort of anticipate, you know, well, people will understand that. And I like to just approach things from the standpoint of this is going to be looked at by somebody that knows nothing. They've never heard of us before, even though that's probably not true, especially as you do this over and over again.
Yeah.
But I want to treat them that way. So simplicity, word. Here's a good little phrase for you: word efficiency. I mean, look at what we did on the backside of that. We took 27 words down to 15, and we didn't change what it says at all.
Yeah.
So you may want to go through the rest of that text in there.
Yeah.
And you may want to just arbitrarily say to yourself, you know, I want to cut 20 to 30% of this text out, but I don't want to change the meaning. Just make it a little easier to get through. This is a big push we have at MYM right now. We're trying on behalf of our clients for the websites and things that we put together to be more word efficient. We changed our website templates to where we've shrunken the character counts that are allowable for the sliders that are on the homepage. We've shrunk them significantly, and we've shrunk the word count that we allow on the home pages significantly. We've shrunk it by about 40%. And the reason was we just felt like we wanted to force ourselves on behalf of our clients to really, really, really focus on what we wanted that client to know. What is the most important thing? What is the big idea? And there's plenty of places they can click here and here and click this and click that to get other information, supporting information, additional information. But I want to make sure when they see that, they go, boom. We've also eliminated, or we've reduced the number of permissible headlines after the sliders. But on the static part of the page, we've reduced the static headlines from a headline and a subheadline with a maximum of 3 lines each, and permissible 3 tertiary headlines of 2 lines each. We've gone to a maximum of 4 lines of headlines and no tertiary headlines at all. So we've gone from a total maximum of 12, which usually came in at about 8 or 9 or 10, and now we've got a maximum of 4. And you know what? It's hard, and our copywriters, I don't think the word complain is the right word, but it's hard. You know, it forces you to think through what is the most important thing, which words can I eliminate, and as a result, it's just becoming much more powerful. We're trying to use our own, you know, eat our own dog food, I guess you say.
Are you doing this as a response to kind of the evolution of people's habits online, Facebook headlines, you know, that stories online? Is that sort of the purpose?
No, not really. Not really. I think it's more of a, you know, I was going to say sort of a prodigal son type story, which just sounds weird to compare, but it started out. You know, here's the reality of the situation. You can use lots of words and you can use lots of headlines, but it takes a tremendous amount of skill to do it the right way. Okay? It actually takes less skill to write effectively with less words. Now, it still takes a lot of skill because it forces you to really focus. But what we found is our copywriters were trying to jam too many thoughts, too many ideas, too many concepts, using too many words, and it was just hard. It was exactly like what we're seeing here. Notice that none of my comments were ever, hey, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Why are you even talking about this? I didn't even comment about the content. I only commented about how easy is it for people to get into it and start reading it.
Right.
And so I don't think it's really a reaction to people's habits, because I don't think people's habits really have changed that much. I don't really think they have. I think the principles of what makes people get engaged in reading something are pretty much the same as they've ever been. And I think we started to violate those principles a little bit by taking what would be some advanced type stuff and using it as our standard stuff, and it just got a little out of control.
Sure.
I was reading
no
an article
different
the
than
other day, which I showed to Drew, and it was talking sort of along the same things you were just mentioning, Rich, about word count. I mean, you know, the words and the length of a headline. And this particular company was an air conditioning company, and their headlines on their ads, and they also put this on billboards, was "Your wife is hot."
Yeah.
And it attracts attention and caused people to read. Then they went into, you know, but it was a few words and caught somebody's eye. And like you said, it was the 6-inch side of the pool that pulled them into the deeper part.
Yeah. So that's really all we're trying to do, and that's what I'm encouraging you to do. So, hey, don't feel bad. I've had to get onto ourselves about the same thing I'm getting onto you about. So,
Sure.
You know. But Drew, do send that over to me. Let's do this real quick. I know you sent also a radio ad. Do you want to listen to that real quick? Then we'll hop over to the other folks.
Yeah, no, let's listen to it real quick. It's only it's a 60-second. We've been doing radio for about a year on a local
Word FM. It's a Christian radio station.
Christian, and getting better and better results. So we went over to KDKA, which is the big AM station in Pittsburgh. I did a couple ads there, but we just recently, this past week, switched over to an announcer who was sort of the main morning talk show host for like 25 years, and he's retired now, but he's got a very recognizable, trusting voice, which is why and he uses a storytelling type of system. So
especially with clients 50 years and older.
Yeah, he fits our demographics really well.
All right, let's take a listen.
To tell us what is best.
Hang on.
Hi, this is Jack Bogan. When we need something we don't know anything about, we have to trust others to tell us what is best. When it comes to home improvements, if we're careful and wise, we ask a neighbor or a friend, or we look to the Better Business Bureau or Angie's List or industry watchdog companies for their ratings. How about an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau? Glowing reviews on Angie's List. Guild Quality Milestones, an industry watchdog, gave this local company a major award that stated, "Your 50th customer in a row just said you deliver exceptional service." 50th customer in a row. What is the name of this very special company? Family-owned Energy Swing Windows in Murraysville, Western Pennsylvania's most referred window and door company. Call them at 724-387-2991. Or go to EnergySwingWindows.com. Hi, this is Jack Bogan. When we need something we don't know anything.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of reaching that market, clearly he sounds like an older guy that would be appealing to older people.
And one of the things, Rich, that compared to, there's probably 4 or 5 other companies that are on the same station. Sometimes it's back-to-back. Window companies are hitting it hard right now. They're all pretty much the same, and it's all completely offer-based, and there's no other real content in them. So our thought behind it is, how do people listening on the radio especially remember any of those ads, remember the names of those companies if they're all the same, versus ours, which is jarringly different in a way that's not typical of how we advertise, but it's just on that medium for us to go and promote offer after offer after offer like they do. I don't know that we stand out at all.
Well, you don't have to sell me on that. here's the reality.
Giving you our background on our thought process, I guess. That's all I was trying to do.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I don't mind this guy so much. Generally speaking, I'm not a huge fan of the radio station guy doing it. I understand all the reasons why it's positive, because people know him and all that stuff. And I don't want to make you feel like I'm trying to discourage that. For other companies moving forward, I don't necessarily like that. And here's why. I like to have somebody that I can put on my ads. Let me back up a second. If you were ever only going to be on this one station, I like this strategy. If you're going to be on multiple stations, given the fact that your demographics are going to be flipping station to station, I like to be able to have consistency on all the 2 or 3 or 4 stations that I happen to be on. So when I'm on station 1, I want to make sure that when they flip to station 2, I've got the same thing. That being said, put that aside, I'm a major, major fan of this style of ad. This is the style of ad that I espouse. Not necessarily the, what is it, here's the reveal. That's okay. I like that. But I like the engagement on something that is not necessarily the product itself. I like the storytelling approach. I like talking about things that are not windows, so that people will listen, become engaged, and then when I hit them with the window, they go, oh, that's a window. And even after you've been on the station for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and even after they start to recognize the voice of the person, and even when they recognize that, hey, this is a window commercial, we can still suck them into listening to the ad, because the continual use of interesting anecdotes and stories and analogies and comparisons, it still makes people want to listen. So I'm a big fan of this. I think you've got a great start here, and what I would want to look at is say, okay, now where are you going to go with this over the next 6 to 12 to 18 to 24 months? What types of ads?
The nice thing about him, Rich, is he basically records a different one every week.
He keeps adding to.
Well, okay, good, but
all
here's
storytelling
the thing, right?
based, like you just said.
So who's giving him that information? You guys?
We go back and forth. We've met with him a few times, and he's taking our story and creating new ones. He already has 4 he created. We chose this one to run first because we liked it the best. But he just kind of works with us on his retainer, and we just keep going back and forth and tell him what we like, what we don't like, and then what we want him to send over to the station to run.
What I recommend is that you create somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 2, 3 is better, 4 is even better, but let's just use the number 3, okay? 3 ads that you are running simultaneously in rotation, so that people hear those ads and they hear all of the ads, and over the course of a month, anywhere from about every 30 to 45 days, rotate a new 4 ads or 3 ads.
Okay.
Okay. So here's what you don't want to have happen. You don't want people to hear the same thing all the time, but at the same time, you also don't want to be creating new ads every week. You just don't.
Yeah.
That's fun for about 3 or 4 weeks. In month 39, that's a ginormous pain in the butt. Okay. So come up with a good solid 3 ads, run them for a solid month to 45 days, then rotate another 45 days of 3 new ads, and just sketch those out over the course of the next year and schedule out your campaigns. Now, if you're running 3 ads, this gives you an opportunity to talk about 3 different things. So one, we talk about our fantastic customer service. One, we'll talk about the unique properties of the window that swings. And another one, we'll talk about our unbelievable warranties, right? And then next month, we've got 3 more ads. And on those, we'll pick 3 different hot buttons, maybe 1 or 2 of the same. But you can just campaign this out, right, over the course of time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I would recommend scheduling it out for, a good solid 6 to 12 months in advance. You can always change it later, but it's going to allow you to see, okay, what kinds of things do we want to be talking about? what hot buttons do we want to hit, and then you can start sort of. Here's what I found: when you do that, then ideas start hitting you randomly from the ether. So you know that next month you've got to write some ads that are based on the concept of oh gosh, I'm trying to come up with a real specific example here. Hang on, I'm going to come up with this. Oh, I know what it is. We work with this heating and plumbing company, you know, that you've heard me talk about before. Well, one of the ads that we wanted to write, and it was coming up, was based on their plumbing services. And we did a little research, and we found out that everybody knew that they were a heating and air conditioning company, but a lot of people didn't realize that they did plumbing. Okay, you with me?
Yeah.
So we wanted to address that in a radio commercial. Well, because I've got that pre-planned out, you know, a couple months at least, if not more in advance, as I'm browsing the internet one day, I see this headline that says something to the effect that the #1 state for movie production was, I can't remember now, I think it was Louisiana. It was some random state that you'd never guess in a million years. And actually, California was only like the 5th highest state in terms of major motion pictures made there. Would you have ever thought that?
No.
So we end up writing this radio commercial that says, what state do you think produces the most major motion pictures? Most of you probably think it's California. The reality is they're only 5th place. The 4th place is X, 3rd is this. See, now I'm doing a little countdown. I'm keeping them engaged, right? The 2nd one is, you know, whatever, Texas. And the top state that did 17 major motion pictures last year compared to only 5 for California. It really is that low. Look it up.
Wow.
Was Louisiana. So now I'm like 20 seconds into this commercial, and I've not mentioned anything about plumbing, heating, nothing. But people are interested now.
Mm-hmm.
And then my segue, of course, you know what? Most people don't realize that XYZ company is the largest plumbing company in Philadelphia. Everyone knows that we do heating and air conditioning, but when you ask people who the biggest plumbing company is, they don't realize that it's us. We've got, you know, 63 plumbers. We've got X number of trucks. We do X number of business, day, night, anytime, no upcharge, and then we get into a couple selling points, right? And these ideas just start popping out of the ether at you, and you take something that's mundane and, you know, not related, and you start making cool ads out of them. Anyway, yeah. I got to jump to my next guy here, but I appreciate you guys participating. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rich.
All right, we'll see you later. All right, that went a little longer than I expected. We're going to have to move quicker. Lawrence, I see you're on the call. Lawrence, I just unmuted you. Can you say something?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Lawrence, how you doing? Hello? Hello?
Hey, can you hear me? I think you went out.
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. There we go. I'm great. How are you guys?
Fantastic. I'm actually only you guy, but yes, I'm fantastic.
Oh,
Let
nice.
me pull your stuff up here. Let's see here. Chad sent it over to me. Boom, here we go. All right, I've got 3 things on here. I've got the Hitcher spoof letter, and I've got Storm Guide. Which do you prefer to look at? Where do you want to start?
Let's take a look at the. Let's take a look at the Hitcher guide, the Hitcher poster.
Okay, should I look at the PDF first or the JPEG first?
It doesn't matter. I think they're the same thing.
All right. Clearly, I need to shrink this. Whoa, not that much. Okay, so this is supposed to look like a movie trailer type poster, right?
Right, and that goes into this theme that our CEO wants to run, which is basically once a month we're doing movie spoofs in order to generate some type of interest in commercial roofing.
All right, let me make some notes here. Okay, let me just tell you something first. Before I look at this any further, before I make any comments at all, let me give you my first knee-jerk reaction comment, which is this. I think it's really cool.
Okay.
You know why I think it's really cool? Because a big part of getting stuff to work is just getting people to notice it and pay attention to it. And so when you come out of right field a little bit, is your idea that you're going to print these posters up and hand them to people or mail them to people?
Some of them we actually do print and mail, but we use them like drops, and sometimes we use them as lead magnets.
What do you mean a lead magnet?
A lead magnet meaning on a website we'll have a form that says, "Hey, submit your website and get a free copy of our monthly movie poster."
I see. Hey, so let me ask you this, just as a silly question. You ready?
Ready.
Are you actually taking it to the next step and making little movies?
We are not. However, we're not opposed to it. I would say that goes over into that goes deeper into our strategy. You know, we can only execute so many things, and that those movies just have never been a priority of ours. But we've thought about it.
You know what? If you could create a little, maybe 2-minute trailer. See, I don't know what The Hitcher is. I mean, I know it's a movie. I've not seen it. I'm sure it's, you know, good or has whatever content. I don't really know. But if you took and spoofed it and wrote a little movie and had a guy make that movie, and then this now is what you're emailing out and you're putting it on your website. Now you've got the archives. Number one, it would be hilarious, right? But not
Right.
stupid hilarious. It would be awesome hilarious. And number two, you know, if you heard me a minute ago before when I was talking to Steve and Drew, and we were talking about writing radio commercials, and you heard me talking about movies. Do you remember that? Did you hear that? Were you on the
Oh yeah.
call for that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the same kind of thing. It really is the same kind of thing. You know, on that radio commercial, we're talking about what state produces the most movies. It doesn't seem like it has anything to do with heating and air conditioning and plumbing, but we tie it in. But we tie it in after we have people interested. And with this campaign, I think it's really clever. I think it's cute. I think it's interesting. And I think it's the kind of thing where after a while, people start to, I don't want to oversell it, but they're going to look forward to the next one. But when the next one comes out, they'll definitely be interested. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I'll take it a step further with you because Rudy has invested a little bit in leveraging celebrity status and building up that rapport as an industry leader. And I was really thinking, hey, instead of us filming these boring roofing contractor commercials that everybody has seen before, let's script it out and let's paint the Three Brothers as like a mix between Duck Dynasty and some of that Modern Family self-aware comedy, you know, and not taking away from the professionalism, but at some point you have to be entertaining enough to get people's attention. And what better way than to build an audience through your CEO's personality? You know does that make sense?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, what I would be the most interested in doing is making sure that whatever you make your poster, that you make the movie and the part that you want to talk about of your company. Like in this one we're looking at on the screen, every company has that nightmare leak that just won't go away. So clearly we're talking about sort of your worst leak challenge type of a thing, right?
Right.
So what you do is you sit. It's like we talked about a minute ago with the window guys creating a campaign. So for the course of a year, here's what we want to do. We want to focus on these topics. Topic number one: stubborn leaks that people can't fix, but we can. Number two, you know, maybe it's warranties. Number three, it's, you know, working with insurance companies and getting more insurance money than the original estimate was, right?
Right.
And whatever those things are, I'm just going off the top of my head. I'm not suggesting that it's exactly those things in that exact order, just to give you some for instances, right?
No, it makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Then you sit down and say, okay, what movie or TV show can we sync up to that? And, with a little creativity, which clearly you guys have creativity to spare, that shouldn't be that hard to do. And maybe it's a TV show like Duck Dynasty. Maybe it's some sort of a takeoff on, The Apprentice, You're Fired, or Biggest Loser, Losing Weight, or, whatever, the Modern Family, and you've got
Right.
the gay guy and the old guy who's married to the hot one, whatever, right?
Right.
Which makes that show so interesting. And whatever it is that makes the show interesting, then you cast Rudy where he's appropriate. But mostly I want to make sure that you've got a good message that ties back to your company and that you integrate it into the theme of that. And, you could make some movies that would be really funny. And I don't think it would cost all that much to do them right. It's going to cost some money, but it's not going to cost,
Right. Not in the
grotesque amount of money.
Right. And in the grand scheme of what companies of this size are doing and the talent, the independent talent out there, small agencies, it's something that can definitely be done within budget. It's just a matter of making that one of our priorities. So are you an advocate for this particular, for video versus all the other different types of advertising media?
Well, see, it always has the caveat of it depends, right? Well, how do you want to use video? What's your intention? So everything needs to be predicated on a campaign. In other words, I don't like a video for the sake of having a video, and I don't like having a postcard and sending somebody a postcard, and I don't like showing up at a trade show. What I like is, what's my overall strategy? So my overall strategy needs to be, okay, I'm going to reach out to a specific target market, in your case, commercial roofing. So we can go out to specific municipalities, school districts, and property management companies. Those are the three big ones, right?
Right.
And we say, okay, we've got to hit these people over and over and over again with something. And we've had that discussion multiple times, most recently when we had lunch a month or two ago. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So the main thing is we need to have a campaign, and we need to identify who these companies are, and we need to get them on a list so that we can send them through email and regular mail something. Now the question becomes, well, what do we send them? So let's assume for a minute that we've got a list of 1,000 municipalities, school districts, and property managers. Maybe that's 500 entities with an average of 2 contacts apiece or something like that.
Right.
Okay. Well, how often should we reach out to them? My opinion is you should be reaching out to them every week. That's what I would
agree.
do.
I totally agree. I feel like a minimum of 3 times a month.
So let's just say weekly, because it's just for conversation and it's easy to discuss. So if we do once per week, then the question becomes, okay, well, what do we do every week? So then we look at it and go, okay, well, let's create a video of a movie spoof for one of the times per month, right?
Right.
See, so in other words, your entire marketing campaign is not this. This becomes a component of it. And this becomes maybe the more fun, wacky, entertaining stuff that people look forward to. Okay, so we'll do that on the first week of every month. Well, what about the second week? Okay, well, on the second week, maybe we send a postcard. And the postcard needs to have a series, and it needs to have, a theme, and we need to figure out how that's going to look for the next year. And then on the third week, whatever it is. We don't need to create the entire thing right here, right now.
Right.
But here's what I'm trying to say. The videos and the movies, in my opinion, can be a very interesting part of a bigger campaign.
Right.
What I wouldn't want to do is just simply make you strictly the guys that make movie spoofs. And that's all people ever see from you. I don't think that's really what you want either. But I think that can be, sort of an anchor part of what you do.
Great feedback. Great feedback.
So,
Gotcha.
Lawrence, maybe what we could do is sit down sometime and say, okay, let's look at this idea of a campaign in a weekly reach out. And if we do 4 per month, we can do 2 via email and 2 via regular mail. Well, what do we want those to be? Right?
Right. I'm with you.
Then maybe, I'm just getting a little creative here. I don't know. You tell me. Then maybe what you do is maybe one time during the year, you rent out a movie theater and you have a private screening of, some big movie or something that you can invite people to, just for fun, right? Just because it's in that theme. But see, if you didn't have this theme and all of a sudden you told people, hey, we're going to rent out a movie theater, come down, the movie's on us, popcorn, everything, they'd look at it and they'd go, well, that's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, but it's kind of weird. And they may or may not be that interested. But now when you've got this theme going, and now after rolling that out there for a year, you say, hey, you know what, it's summertime, we're going to have some fun, or maybe it's wintertime and, it's hard to get out, you can't, go out and have fun, but we're going to have a movie, and we're going to screen this, classic movie or whatever, and rent out the movie theater. You have some discussion about Castro a little bit, but, fun, right?
Right.
I love it. I think this is great. Anytime I see this type of out-of-the-box thinking, I like it. It's scary for a lot of companies because they look at stuff like this and they go, well, what if it's misunderstood, or what if people don't get it, or, wouldn't I be better off spending that same money on something that's more direct and understandable? But when you understand the concept of campaign, which is for the next 12, 24, 36, 48, 60 months, I'm going to reach out to these people 2, 3, 4 times a month. Then it becomes a matter of content, and having some interesting, different type of content, I think, can be really, really valuable for you.
Right. Gotcha.
Going back over to the email, I'm not sure what this is.
Now,
okay.
I'll tell you what would be ideal if you got the. I think Rudy sent over some proofs of a van wrap, but I'm not sure if that was in my email.
I've got it here. Hang on.
The van wraps are a big deal because, if you can pull them up, we can discuss that.
All right, let me grab that real quick. I know where it is. I just got to find it. Okay, there we go. All right, that's it, right?
Let's see.
It better be, because I don't know what else it is if it's not that.
Well, for some reason, I think my screen is frozen because I'm still pulling up the windows.
Oh, wait, okay. Hang on. That's user error on my side. There, now you should be seeing it.
There we go. That's one proof.
Okay, then I've got. Well, I've got another one that looks almost exactly the same. It's got a different color.
Oh, do you have one that looks like really trendy, like a red and black one?
Is that it?
Let's see. It hasn't come up yet.
No. All the ones I have are, they're all kind of the same.
Oh man, okay, okay. Could I get it to you like right now? Would you get it?
Yeah, just email it real quick.
All right, I'll email it real quick. Hold on, let's see. Boom. My rap project. So at Castro. All right, I'm sending them. No. All right, sorry guys, I'm pulling them up. No. All right, here's one copy. And I'll just email this one over first. So we'll have something. And that email is going to Chad. I mean, no, to
No, send it to
Rich,
me.
straight to Rich. Okay.
Yep.
New email, Rich. Boom. And boom. Truck one. Send. All right, so I've sent the first one, and the next one will be right behind it. And I'm ready to roll.
So you don't like the ones that were just on the screen?
I'm not a fan. However, I do understand why Rudy likes them. And I do understand his take on them, but I'm just not a fan of them. I feel like they are just not attention grab. They don't have that flair about them.
Okay, there's one. There's another one.
No, I sent the one, so you have it, and I'm
Okay.
putting the other ones in the email right now.
Okay. Well, I got one on the screen right now. You should be seeing that.
Let's see. Yep, this is it.
I mean, it looks cool. There's no question.
Okay, but but I know we're gonna go into talking about the purpose though, and how it does it capture all the information, etc.
Well, so I've got mixed feelings about trucks. I think trucks, the number one thing they should do is draw attention to themselves so that people see them. Um, you've got to think in terms of who's going to be seeing the truck and what purpose do you want it to serve. So let me give you an example. I made mention earlier of a large air conditioning company. Their colors are orange. Their trucks are all orange. They've got 300 trucks. Okay.
Hmm. Right.
It's a residential service company. They're very big. 300 trucks is a lot. So their trucks are out all over town, and people start to see them, and it starts to become an advertising vehicle for them. And really all we try to accomplish on those trucks is putting the name, the color, and the phone number and the URL. We're not really trying to communicate any of the important points about the company. We just want people to see them, and they're orange. And I'm telling you what, they do a fantastic job. People know those trucks. In your case, you got a much narrower audience. It's not that likely that it's likely that the people that are going to be seeing your trucks the most are the people that are paying you to be there with your truck.
Right.
Okay? Doesn't mean that somebody can't randomly see your truck and say, hey, that's cool. Hey, we have commercial buildings. Hey, we've got a roof. I think the reality is your trucks are really more akin to a business card or a uniform for your company, where we want that uniform and that business card to communicate something, number one, that's consistent with everything else they're seeing from your company. Number two, we want it to be on the highly professional side of things, which clearly this does, or the other one does. They both do.
Hmm.
And to the extent that we can communicate something about what you do, clearly this truck does not communicate a lot about what you actually do other than obviously roofing. Empowering business building owners, that really doesn't communicate anything. I mean, I don't know what people are going to make of
Right.
that.
Right.
You look at the other one, we fix leaks, commercial roofing service, give us your worst leak, we will fix it guaranteed. You guys just cannot resist putting, lookout and stuff like that, people have no idea what it means.
Man, Rich, but you and I are on the same page. I'm firmly for the red and black one because I feel like it looks like we've stepped into the mobile phone era. However, as far as the data, you know, clearly it doesn't have enough data on it, and I do feel like we can incorporate some of that data into this design. However, the challenge we have here in office is that when Rudy sees these designs, he says that the red and black one looks too rock star. It looks too modern. That our demographic are mostly like older and more boring people. So we don't want a clown car. So that's why we gravitate back to the more basic one. And when we get there, yeah, it has all the information and whatnot, but again, it's just nothing appealing about it in to me. And even with the
Well,
logos, I'm with you about the logos.
so here's the thing. What are we trying to accomplish? Okay?
Right.
If we're trying to look like a rock star, then the red and black one probably accomplishes that better. Here's a different way to look at it. Here's a way to look at the question from the other side of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
Are people going to look at this truck that's currently on the screen, and are they going to say to themselves, wow, that company's not cool enough for me to do business with?
No.
No, clearly they're not going to say that.
Right.
Are they going to look at this truck and say, hey, that's a professional looking truck. Clearly this is a company that is a professional company. As opposed to, just, I think typically companies just have either a white van with something written on the side or,
right.
minimal graphics. So clearly it's got design, it's professional looking. I'm tending to go with Rudy on this one just to make it more functional to what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
I might get rid of the Lookout logo, and I might change We Fix Leaks to We Fix Any Leak. We Fix Any Leak.
Mm-hmm.
Give us your worst leak. $5,000 worst leak challenge, maybe, instead of give us your worst leak and we'll fix it guaranteed.
Right.
Something like that. But it's
and
close.
that's
I don't.
No, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, no, that's a very fair assessment. And again, I definitely see where you guys are coming from.
The other thing I don't like about the red and black truck. Now, let's review what I do like about it first. It looks really cool. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't like about it is because of the patterns of the red and the black. I'll put it back on the screen. You're making it really, really difficult to actually put any other information on this because it's so distracting on the background. So if you simply want it to look cool but not communicate anything specific, well, it doesn't really matter that it's distracting. It's just cool. But if you wanted to put something over this and you wanted to have, some significant message, it starts to be distracting and it starts to get lost a little bit. I'm trying to imagine this design on this big of a truck.
Well, I sent you the additional proofs with the updated van.
Oh, well, let me see if I can find that. Phew. Well, maybe it's coming through. No, there it is. Vans. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah, I mean, it starts being really, really distracting when you get more surface area on there.
Yeah, I can see that.
And on this one, we got this big Trojan horse, which, realistically speaking, you've got no brand equity in that logo.
Right.
Maybe you would in the future if you did that, but that's almost what I'd expect to see from AT&T. The big globe thing or something like that.
Uh-huh.
But when people see the big globe thing from AT&T, they go, "Oh, AT&T."
Right.
The big Trojan horse from you, they go, "Oh, well, University of Southern California."
Right. Or contraceptives.
Yeah, there you go. So realistically, I like this one better. I don't think it looks as cool.
Mhm.
but I think it's a better canvas for getting your message across.
Right.
Now, I tell you what, I wouldn't be opposed to using the other colors. You know, like the other one has no blue and this one has blue in it. You know, I'm not sure why. I don't care either way, okay? But I'm suggesting that perhaps you try some of the red and black and gray on this one, but with this design that makes things easier to read. I mean, clearly we got a white section, clearly we have a blue section, and then a small strip of black, and then a small strip of blue, which makes it easier to put things so that they're easy to read.
Right.
There's no reason that the blue section has to be blue, though, or the white section has to be white. You know, you may want to mess around with that a little bit.
Right. I get that. I can see how you know, those angles make it very legible and very able to be, you know, we could pick apart what we do very easily. So it makes sense.
Yeah, and then maybe back there where that Lookout logo is, maybe that's where you put your, you know, 24-hour emergency service logo.
Right.
So I guess here's the point of all of this. I think we've created some cool stuff, artistically speaking, that's pretty awesome, but is not necessarily fulfilling the purpose that you want it to fulfill.
Right. I got you.
I'd be interested though in that other color scheme within this design scheme.
Mhm.
You know, up there where you've got the Castro roofing on white, maybe you put that on sort of that gray metal looking background or something. I don't know. You'd have to fool around with that. I can't tell if it would look cool without seeing it first.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay. The other thing I saw that you sent over was the storm guide. You know, I'm not a fan at all of busy backgrounds.
Neither am I.
Not a fan at all. I think it just distracts the crap out of people.
Right. Yeah.
Is this based on what I had written for you?
No, this is something that's a little older. I think Rudy just wanted feedback on this one, just, you know, as we're getting ready to start updating.
Yeah, you know, from a design standpoint, I really don't like this at all.
Okay.
You know, proved military grade X vision thermal scan, flyover. You got the helicopter there. It just feels like you're getting carried away with the theme at the expense of communicating what you want to communicate. You know, also, we've had multiple discussions with you about Stormhawks and the branding of Stormhawks versus Castro Roofing, and I'll go on record for the 39th time of saying I don't like it.
You and me both. Okay.
I mean, I don't know how many different ways to say it and to give advice, but at the end of the day, you know, it's your company.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, this is going to require some work. Maybe we can get on the phone and talk about this one a little bit later. I need to move on right now.
Okay.
But yeah, just design-wise, this is, you know what a hate shiver is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, this is giving me hate shivers. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
You know, with your vans, I don't think this van design is the right design, but at least it looks really cool, you know. This is over here, I don't even think it looks cool at all. So, okay, Lawrence, I'm going to let you go. We'll pick up on the back end. I'll talk to you, but I gotta hop over to a couple other folks real quick.
No problem, man. I'll be checking you out, and thanks for the feedback.
All right. Thanks, Lawrence.
All right. Bye-bye.
All righty. Let's now move on to, we're going to move over to here. Let me check my notes. Okay, I've got RSU Contractors, Libby. Okay, here you are, Libby. Libby, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, how you doing today?
Great, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. So does this look like the right thing on the screen here?
Yes.
All right, let me just blow it up a little bit. Tell me what this is and what you're trying to do, and we'll go from there.
Well, we do the every door direct mailing also. So
Okay.
we typically send out about 10,000 flyers to a specific area that we want to target. I have two specific questions, but then I would take any overall comments also.
Okay.
But
Now, first, before you do that, this is the front, this is probably the back, and then this is the front, right?
Yeah, well that's right, the back, or the whatever you're calling
Okay.
the front is postal address on it, and then the back.
Okay, go ahead. Ask your questions.
So the question is, should we drive more of our business to the email, to our website?
What's the other question?
The website's on here, but it's not really driving people to the website. And we want to attract larger projects.
And tell me what you mean by larger projects. Clearly, I know what the word larger means, but give me what your definitions would be.
It'd be over $25,000, but typically more around $100,000.
Okay. And compared to what? What is it currently attracting?
Our average customer is about 10,000.
I'm making notes, not ignoring you. Sorry. Average is 10,000. So, what kind of things are you doing for $10,000? Just give me a couple of examples.
Well, we can do a kitchen, a bath, but it's, the kitchen would be more countertops, some cabinetry instead of like a whole kitchen remodel, or a very small kitchen for that price. But generally, a nice kitchen like you're looking at would be more of the $80,000 to $100,000 range.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Would you be willing to sacrifice the smaller business to get the larger business? Or are you trying to get all of it?
Right, I don't think we want to do that.
So you want all of it?
We want it all.
And I'm going to tell you, the reason I'm asking the question is because the very easiest way to attract those kinds of projects is to go out into the marketplace and say, we do these kinds of projects. We specialize in high-end projects that are $70,000 and up. We don't take the small projects. We're not interested in the small projects. If you want a smaller project, we've got other guys, we've got a crew that can do them, but we specialize in this. Here's why, here's how, here's what we do. And it's such a powerful strategy because nobody's saying it. So what happens is you send your every door direct mail out, and it goes into the neighborhoods that you want, which is the people that can afford and need those kinds of projects. And they look at this and they go, okay, this guy looks pretty good. And there's other things that they see in magazines or online or in their mailbox, right? And there's no distinction other than everybody's got beautiful pictures and says we can do these projects. But as soon as they see the one that says we specialize in high-end projects, our average jobs are $75,000 to $150,000, then immediately those people that are interested in those projects, they immediately are attracted to you and say, oh, here's somebody that for the kind of stuff I want, which they know what they want, and they know it's expensive, right? They're not scared by how expensive it is. If somebody's writing a check for $100,000, do you think they're scared by the price tag?
Right.
And they look at that and they go, yeah. So here's an interesting thought. It may be worthwhile to, here's a good word for us here, test that concept. You can do it potentially in a way that is not exclusionary. I don't even know if exclusionary is a word, but it doesn't exclude the smaller ones, but you really focus on those higher end ones. Because I know how your business works, not you specifically, but I know how contractors' business works. And if you send out 10,000 postcards and you get 10 jobs from that are $10,000 each, or you get 2 jobs from that are $85,000 on average, you'd rather have the 2 than the 10, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, all things considered, now you've only got to deal with 2 projects, and clearly they're bigger projects and they're more involved, but you know, you probably make the same or more money on those 2 than you would on the 10 combined. And you know, it could be very interesting. But you know what? That's sort of an all-in type of a strategy. Now, it doesn't have to be literally all in, but when you run that type of ad, the small guys don't call. They won't call. You scared them off. So maybe you do it under a different name. I don't know. But if you want to get high-end projects, the easiest way to get high-end projects is to go out and tell people we do high-end projects. And here's prices, and here's price ranges, and here's the kind of stuff we do. And you don't apologize, and you don't pull any punches. And those people that want those projects, they attract you like flies to, you know, picnic or whatever the analogy is.
Right. So in the concept of the campaign, could you do a postcard with a high-end project, and then the second postcard be similar, just not, doesn't say we specialize in high-end projects? And then the third card might, would that be confusing?
So let me ask you this. Let's back up a little bit. You said you're sending out 10,000 pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that you're sending them based on types of homes that have the types of projects you want, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay. How did you choose the number 10,000? Why is it 10,000 and not 12,000 or 15,000 or 7,000 for that matter? How'd you come up with 10,000?
It's more budget related.
Okay. I understand. And that's actually what I expected your answer to be. That's not a good answer or a bad answer. It's just an answer, okay? But I wanted to know it. Because here's why I'm wondering. What if you took your budget and you said, okay, we've got 70% of our budget, and then we got another 30% of our budget, whether that's 3,000 pieces and 10,000 pieces, or that's 10,000 pieces plus 3,000 additional pieces. What if you said, okay, we're going to go after, to 70%, we're going to send sort of our normal stuff, whatever that is. And maybe we can discuss that here in a minute too. But on 30%, we're going to hit them with only high-end stuff. You see what I just did?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What I've done is I said, instead of going with sort of a mixed message this time versus next time, I just segment my list and I say, well, let me see what works better. Let me run it out there for 2, 3, 4 months. And if I see that it's working well on the 30%, then I can convert it from 30% to 40 or 50 or 100%, depending on how well it's working. And if the 70% with the more typical type approach is working better, then you go that way. Because see, we really don't care which one works better. We just want one to work better, right?
Right, right.
I mean, let's say this. What if you spent, out of that 10,000 piece budget, you sent 7,000 of them with a typical message like we've got here, and we sent 3,000 with this high-end, hey, this is what we do, $100,000 projects, don't scare us off. In fact, it's what we prefer to work on, whatever. And you started seeing that in terms of dollars of sales, you started getting twice as much sales off of your 3,000 pieces as you did from your 7,000 pieces. Well, then you say, geez, now we know, right?
Right.
Now, hear me loud and clear. I did not just predict that one message would get twice as many sales. I said, what if it did? Then you would know. Then you can make that decision. But you can't really make decisions without knowing. But I think it's you started out with a specific question to me, and the question was, we want to attract larger projects. How do we do that? And my simple answer is, you tell people that's the kind of projects you do.
Okay. Yeah, I like testing it too. That gives you some control.
Yeah. So what I would do, you know, we've got this postcard here, remodeling. By the way, I need to make a comment to you. I'm looking at this other panel right here, if this is every door direct mail, you don't need even close to that much area for the postal area. Not even close. You need to go to whoever's designing this for you, have them get with the U.S. Postal Service regulations, because U.S. Postal Service regulations for every door direct mail requires extraordinarily little space for the address. Do you know why?
Okay.
Do you know why?
No.
Huh?
No, I don't know why.
The reason is because it's not machine sorting like regular mail. So when you do regular mail, you got to have a certain amount of white space, you got to have a certain barcode, and it's got to be readable, and the postal indicia's got to be at a certain place, because all of it's being looked at by computers. And if it's not exactly right, the computer has a hard time, and it kicks it out, and then you've got a problem, okay? Every door direct mail doesn't work that way. Every door direct mail shows up in the individual postman's pile of stuff for the day in a big rubber band.
Right.
And he has to literally take it and manually put one for every house that's in that carrier route. So it's technically actually being manually sorted. That's why they do it for so cheap. It's because it doesn't have to run through their system. The guy just grabs it and throws it in the mailbox without really paying attention to anything other than is it the right carrier route. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because that gives you a lot more area to put cool stuff on your postcard, instead of having one half of your front of your card being completely unavailable for anything but somebody's address. Now,
okay.
I'm going to make another comment to you here. And this is one where you're going to need to, I was going to say, put on your big boy pants. But that's a stupid comment to make to a woman. But you need a little thicker skin here, okay? Ready?
Okay, got it.
I'm gonna say something that's a little bit of a what do we call it? Constructive criticism. This postcard, as it currently sits, does not have the look and feel of the company that does $100,000 projects.
Okay.
It doesn't. It has the look and feel of something less than that. Now, let me be very clear. It doesn't have the look and feel of a company that is terrible and is going to suck and is going to rip people off. It doesn't look like that. But if you want to go out and start telling people you're a $100,000 project company, you got to start looking and feeling like a $100,000 project company. And this really doesn't do that. You know, bring this ad in for a free $50 gift card. You know, a picture of all these people standing in front of this building. It just does not have that look and that feel. 6 months, same as cash, 5 years, low interest. This looks more like, hey, we stack them deep and sell them cheap.
Okay.
So what I would want to do is put something on there, showcase some of your most absolutely stunning, beautiful work. Make it huge on the card so people look at it and go, wow, that looks great. And then, you know, I'm trying to come up with some headlines here. Let me just look at something real quick. I'm going to show you a couple stuffs here real quick, all right?
Okay.
It's going to just take me a second, though. Where is that thing? Yeah, you think I could find stuff? Well, maybe it's in here. If I can't find it here, I won't show it to you, obviously, because I can't find it. I've done some stuff like this before. What I'm trying to do is I want to show, okay, here's one. This is This is and is not what I want to show you, which is that's like the second stupid thing I've said in 2 minutes to you. But check this out. Bathroom remodeling for those who are picky, fussy, persnickety, demanding, particular. You know, we probably don't want this discount over here. I just talked about that. Just right downright hard to please.
I can't see it.
That's because I didn't show my screen. Here it goes.
Okay.
Now can you see it?
Yes.
I don't like this picture. I don't think it's the right picture for what you're trying to accomplish. But I just like this idea. You know, if you're picky, fussy, persnickety, demanding, hard to please, you know, if you flip this over to the back, if you're a stickler for details, your standards are high. And I'm going to quit showing this because it's got a lot of elements about it that I don't like, and I'm not trying to recommend to you. But, you know, I just want to use words that make people think, you know, we do something special. We do something different. You know, we specialize in high-end. Is it mostly kitchen and bath, or is it other stuff too?
Well, whole house remodels.
Kitchen, bath, and whole house remodels.
Additions.
Additions, okay. Anyway, I think from a graphic design standpoint, we got a ways to go here. We got a ways to go. I'm trying to see if I can find anything that looks better over here, and I'm just not finding it.
Right.
On short
notice
here.
Well, I think this card has evolved, and we were really pushing our kind of more of our handyman service, our 24-hour service, and we got away from that. And that's not what we want to focus on our market to. And I think that some of those things are still in the card. So I think it's a fair assessment.
Yeah, well, if you want people to think you're important, you've got to look important. If you want to be impressive, you got to look impressive. You know, you got to show up to the wedding wearing, you know, a beautiful gown and a tuxedo. Not, you know, this is kind of a polo shirt and khakis you've got on, to use the analogy, right?
Mhm.
So that's my general comment for you. We can go back to the front of this. You know, I think even if you don't use that exclusive type approach where you say, hey, we specialize in, you know, these big projects, expensive projects, whatever, I think if you just up the look and feel of this to something more, you know, impressive / graphically pleasing / you know, cool, I think it's going to pay dividends for you.
Okay.
Who does your graphic design over there? Do you do it, or do you have a designer?
No, we have a designer do it. We had a marketing company produce the cards, but they have changed over time. And when we use these stock cards that we've created from the marketing company, and when we use a company to distribute it, sometimes we'll make changes. And like I said, this kind of evolved, and I see where it's evolved away from really what we want. So
yeah,
good comments to bring us back to targeting what we're trying to accomplish. What about the drive to the website? Should we try to drive people to the website?
I would. I mean, especially if your website is awesome.
Well, MIM designed it, so I'm sure it is.
Yeah, well, then, you know, it should have good identity. It should have good photo galleries. It should have good social proof. Then absolutely, I drive them to the website.
Okay, so we want to make that a little more prominent on the card.
Well, not just prominent in terms of making it, you know, bigger or something like that, but also tell them why would they go to your website? What things are on your website? You know, see photo galleries, you know, online reviews, customer references, whatever's on there, and tell them. I mean, you got to tell people. You can't assume people are going to know. You know, to see photos of, you know, 25 projects, case studies, whatever you've got on there that's awesome. highlight it,
Okay.
tell people, and send them to the website. So those are my general comments, without necessarily sitting down and rewriting the entire thing. This call will be posted on our Insider portal, so you may want to go back and listen to some of my comments again, make some notes. I'm sure you got some notes, but just listen one more time for the principles that I'm going through here, and then start injecting them into this.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate it.
Okay, awesome. So appreciate you coming on here, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye. All right, and finally, Ann Leong. Ann, you are going to need to hit your audio pin, because right now I cannot unmute you. It's #19#. #19# for Ann Leong. That will allow me to unmute you. Meanwhile, let me mute Libby. Let's see. This is the ad, but Ann, until you, maybe you've tried and it doesn't work, but I can't unmute your line right now. Audio pin has been sent, #19#. Okay. Okay, and I can't get you live, so we're gonna have to pick you up on the back end. Sorry about that. We'll do that though. And that being said, I guess we'll go ahead and end up here. Thanks so much. See you.